What's up, everyone? So, Days Gone. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Didn't that game come out like 6 years ago? And yeah, technically, you're right. But here's the thing. Sony just dropped Days Gone Remastered on PS5 in April, and it's also coming to PC. So I figured, why not actually sit down and play this thing properly in 2025 and see if it's worth your time? And look, I went in with pretty low expectations, not gonna lie, but somehow this game surprised me in ways I wasn't expecting. Let me be real with you, this isn't a perfect game, but it's a lot more fun than people give it credit for. And yeah, I'm probably gonna be that guy defending it in the comments, but hear me out. So, Days Gone is set in post-apocalyptic Oregon, about 2 years after this virus outbreak that basically turned people into zombies. Except they don't call them zombies here. They're called freakers. And honestly, that's kind of a sick name. You play as Deacon St. John, this hardened outlaw biker who's basically lost everything. His wife Sarah got separated from him during the outbreak, and he's been told she's dead. But then this researcher guy shows up and tells him, hey, your wife might actually be alive somewhere. And Deacon's like, well, I guess I'm going on a road trip to find her. You've also got his best friend, Boozer, who's honestly one of the better written characters in the game. Their relationship actually feels genuine, and watching them bro it out throughout this story is actually kind of touching, which I didn't expect from a zombie survival camp. The first few hours are, let's call them a rough. The pacing is honestly pretty bad. You're getting tutorials shoved in your face, you've got no good weapons, and you're basically forced to sneak around like you're on a stealth mission. But here's the thing, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm making excuses. I think that's actually intentional. The game wants you to feel weak at the start. You're supposed to struggle.
And okay, let's talk about what makes Days Gone actually unique. The motorcycle and the hordes. Your bike isn't just some vehicle you hop on and forget about. You need to manage fuel. You need to fix it when it gets damaged. You need to actually care for it. And it sounds tedious on paper, but it really creates this connection with your character. Your bike is like your only real companion out there. But the real star of this game, the freaker hordes, man. There are these massive swarms of like 100+ infected that just rush towards you in waves. And the first time you encounter one, terrifying, legitimately scary. Here's why they work. The AI is genuinely unpredictable. These things aren't stupid. They'll try to flank you. They'll use terrain. If you're up on a ledge, they'll figure out different ways to get you. You can't just spray and pray and expect to win. You need to actually think about your strategy. You've got to use the environment, explode fuel trucks, set traps, lead them into choke points, clamp on buildings where they can't reach you. And the satisfaction you get from taking out a horde, especially a massive one, is honestly unmatched in most of the games. The gunplay itself is okay. It's not mind-blowing. It's a bit loose and floaty at times, but once you unlock better weapons, it gets way more satisfying. And yes, there is a crossbow, which is always cool in zombie games.
The story is complicated. Like, it's not gonna blow your mind with incredible twists. It hits a lot of familiar zombie media beats. You've probably seen most of this before if you've watched The Walking Dead or read any zombie comics. But there's something about the way it unfolds that actually works. It's slow, maybe too slow sometimes, but by the mid-game, you start getting invested in these people. You meet different survivor camps, each with their own problems, their own politics, their own agendas. There's Iron Mike, this gruff military-type guy. There's Tucker, this old dude who's seen some stuff. There's Ricky and Addison, who have their own drama going on. And then there's Eliza. Man, I don't want to spoil anything, but Eliza's story is genuinely heartbreaking. The character writing can be inconsistent, I'll give you that. Sometimes Deacon says stuff that makes you cringe a little bit. Like, he talks to himself a lot, and I mean a lot. Sometimes it works, and you get his sense of his isolation and his constant internal dialogue. Other times, you're just like, dude, stop talking. And yeah, there are some moments where the dialogue feels a little forced, like someone watched Sons of Anarchy once and thought, yeah, bikers definitely talk like this. But most of the time, it's surprisingly genuine. These are people trying to survive, and that comes through.
Let's be honest about what doesn't work. The first act is genuinely a slog. You're in this one little area and the game keeps throwing tutorials at you and you feel weak and underpowered. It's an endurance test to get through. The story loses its focus in the second half. Like, you start off with this clear goal, find your wife. But then the narrative shifts and suddenly you're dealing with cult guys and corporate conspiracies and it gets a little messy. There's also just a lot of repetition. A lot of missions are like, go here, self-pass these guys, kill this horde to get out. It's fun, but you can feel the repetition start to wear on you. And the game is long, like 35 to 40 hours for the main story, maybe 60 plus if you do side content. For some people, that's great. For others, it might feel padded. There's also some jank here and there. Frame rate dips during intense horde moments. Some visual glitches. Nothing game-breaking, but it's there.
So why should you care in 2025? Well, they just dropped Days Gone Remastered on PS5 and PC. And look, it's not like a complete visual overhaul or anything. It's more of a polished job. Better lighting, better shadows, faster load times on PS5. But they added some new modes that are actually pretty cool. There's Permadeath Road, where if you die, you have to start over or restart from Act 2. There's Speedrun mode, and there's an enhanced Horde Assault Survival mode. If you already played Days Gone on PS4, you can get the remaster for just $10. If you're on PC, you're getting the DLC with new content for $10. And if you've never played it, you can grab the full remastered for $50.
Here's my honest take. Days Gone is worth playing in 2025, but with some caveats. If you're into zombie games, open world exploration, and you don't mind a slower burn story, you'll probably dig it. The Horde combat is genuinely unique and satisfying. The world of Oregon is fun to explore, and once the story gets rolling, you'll care about what happens. If you're looking for the next Last of Us or something with pristine writing and perfect pacing, this ain't it. This is a B-tier PlayStation exclusive that's a little rough around the edges, but has genuine heart. The character stuff with Deacon and Boozer is actually really solid, and there are moments in this game that hit harder than you'd expect from a zombie biker adventure.